An ancient barrier is breaking, and a humble blacksmith might be the only hope to keep the darkness at bay. Will he survive the shadows within? Don't miss out on the best. Subscribe now to my YouTube channel and join this amazing community. Every week, new adventures, tips, and much more await you. Hit the subscribe button and activate the bell to stay always up to date. In a world full of magic and ancient creatures, the veil is a mystical barrier that protects reality from monsters and entities from dark dimensions. No one knows exactly when or who created it, but it has been there since time immemorial, maintaining peace and balance across the realms. However, something is starting to fail. Tiny cracks have begun appearing in the veil, letting shadows and twisted creatures escape, threatening to ravage villages and devour the unsuspecting. The Council of the Kingdom's wisest mages is troubled, but none of their skills manage to repair the cracks. Among the villagers, despair and fear spread, until a humble blacksmith named Darek discovers something unusual. While working at his forge, he sees a crack open in front of him, and, without knowing how, he manages to close it with a single word. Frightened yet curious, Darek realizes that, for some reason, he has the gift of seeing and sealing the cracks in the veil, a power that had only existed in legends. Darek tries to understand his newfound power, but each time he faces a crack, he feels his energy weakening. Each seal tires him more than he would like to admit, and the cracks seem to multiply daily. Desperate and afraid he won't be able to contain the shadows for much longer, he decides to approach the Council of Mages for answers. However, the council greets him with distrust. They believe a mere blacksmith should not possess such great and mysterious power, something even they have not mastered. Despite the initial resistance, a young mage named Mirelle, the most curious of the council, takes an interest in Darek and decides to help him explore his abilities. Together, they discover that his power seems linked to an ancient prophecy about the heir of the veil, a person destined to repair the barrier and prevent the world from being consumed by darkness. Although this fills Darek with hope, it also makes him doubt, as the weight of this responsibility is more than he could have ever imagined. Mirelle takes Darek to a sacred place where the cracks are more frequent and dangerous, hoping they can learn more about his abilities there. Upon arrival, a massive crack opens before them, releasing a dark creature that tries to drag them into the unknown dimension beyond the veil. Darek faces the creature with courage, and with great effort, he manages to close the crack, though he is left so weakened that he nearly collapses. Mirelle realizes that each time Darek closes a crack, he seems to absorb part of the darkness it contains, as if his own being is tainted by the dark energy of the veil. This discovery deeply unsettles her, but she decides not to tell Darek just yet. Instead, she promises to help him find a solution to stop the cracks once and for all, even though she knows this could cost them more than they can imagine. As Darek and Mirelle investigate further into the veil, they discover ancient texts speaking of the Weavers, a race of mystical beings who, according to legend, wove the veil to contain darkness in its own dimension. The texts mention that the Weavers left guardians behind, tasked with keeping the veil intact and protecting it from any threat. However, these guardians disappeared centuries ago, and with them, the knowledge needed to maintain the barrier was lost. Mirelle suspects that Darek might be the last remnant of those guardians, a living legacy of the Weavers. Although this theory gives her a glimmer of hope, it also means he might be in grave danger. If the darkness inside him grows each time he closes a crack, there might come a time when he himself disintegrates into shadows. Darek listens silently, determined to continue even as the risk of losing himself rises with every crack he repairs. The cracks in the veil grow larger and more frequent, and Darek can barely keep up. The creatures that emerge from them grow stronger, and each encounter leaves him more drained. Soon, cracks begin to open near villages and cities, spreading terror and chaos among the people. The townsfolk begin to see Darek as a sort of savior, a hero capable of containing the shadows, even though he feels more trapped each day in a fate he never chose. With every crack he seals, Darek feels the darkness inside him growing, as if a part of the forbidden dimension is trying to infiltrate his soul. Mirelle, who has been closely observing him, notices his skin starting to take on a darker tone and that his eyes reflect a strange light. She knows she needs to warn him, but fears the truth might break his resolve and push him to the edge of his endurance. Mirelle finally decides to speak to Darek about the risk he's running. She explains that by closing the cracks, he's absorbing the darkness contained within them, and that if he continues, he may be completely consumed by the very force he's trying to stop. Darek, at first, can't believe it. He feels betrayed by his own powers. However, after reflecting, he understands that his destiny is far darker than he imagined, and that each choice he makes could be his last. Though Mirelle offers help and suggests finding an alternative, Darek insists on continuing. He knows that if he doesn't close the cracks, no one else can, and the world will plunge into darkness. Mirelle, understanding his decision, promises not to abandon him, even though she knows deep down that she may be helping him walk toward his own destruction. United by the same purpose, they prepare to face the most powerful cracks that have appeared so far. Darek and Mirelle reach a larger crack, so enormous it looks like a wound in reality itself. As they approach, they feel the darkness trying to pull them in, sucking the air around them. Darek focuses on closing the crack, but this time it's different. The crack seems to resist his efforts, as if an unknown force from the other side of the veil is pushing to open it even wider. Darek struggles against the force, each passing second weakening him more. Mirelle watches, terrified, as Darek starts to be engulfed by darkness. His skin turns almost completely black, and his eyes now reflect an otherworldly glow. In a final effort, he manages to close the crack, but the strain leaves him on the verge of collapse. Darek can barely stand, and Mirelle realizes each crack is drawing him closer to becoming one of the very shadow creatures they so fear. After sealing the crack, Darek realizes his life has changed forever. He knows he can't keep closing the cracks without risking being consumed by darkness, and Mirelle suggests seeking a definitive solution, perhaps a ritual that would seal the cracks once and for all. However, this would require a sacrifice neither of them is willing to make. Desperate and feeling the weight of his responsibility, Darek decides to search for one last crack, one close to the veil's heart. There, he believes, he could seal the barrier at its source and prevent more cracks from opening. Mirelle tries to stop him, but he is resolute, asking her to accompany him to the end, trusting that this final act will be his legacy to the world. Darek and Mirelle find the crack deep within the forest, a pulsing rift that seems to beat like a heart. As they approach, Darek feels the darkness claiming him, inviting him to cross. Still, he focuses on the purpose that has driven him this far and, determined, uses all his strength to try to seal the crack once and for all. At his side, Mirelle casts a protective spell, hoping it will be enough to save him from the darkness. Darek knows this is his final act and, with a shout of resolve, pours all of himself into sealing the crack. The crack begins to yield, and the veil's light intensifies until it finally closes completely. However, the act consumes all of Darek's energy, and as the last glimmer fades, he collapses, on the brink of being lost to the darkness that still lingers within him. After Darek's sacrifice, the veil is restored, and the cracks disappear, bringing peace back to the kingdom. People begin to speak of him as the guardian of the veil, the hero who gave his life to protect his world from the shadows. Mirelle, devastated by the loss, returns to the Council of Mages and recounts Darek's story, ensuring that his sacrifice will never be forgotten. Over the years, his story becomes a legend, and in the darkest corners of the world, whispers about the guardian of the veil inspire courage and hope in those who fear the darkness. Although Darek is gone, his spirit continues to protect the veil, and with every crack that appears over time, the kingdom remembers the sacrifice of a humble blacksmith who defied his fate to save them all. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and comment.